everyone. We are going to simplify some square roots, but let's review some basic information. So the square root of 4 is equal to the square root of 2 times 2, which is equal to 2. The square root of 9 is equal to the square root of 3 times 3, which is equal to 3. The square root of 16 is equal to the square root of 4 times 4, which equals 4. And this pattern actually continues, right? This pattern continues on to infinity. But here are some perfect squares that you may be familiar with, okay? And this is an easier way to look at this information. Now, we're going to use these perfect squares to simplify some square roots. For example, what if you were asked to simplify the square root of 63? Well, we're going to use these 3 steps. First of all, we're going to factor the radicand. That's this value underneath the square root symbol. We call that the radicand. We're going to remove any perfect squares, and then we are going to check our work to make sure that what we did is correct. Let's go. So step 1, let's factor the radicand. Well, maybe you know that 63 is equal to the square root is equal to 9 times 7. So we could rewrite the square root of 63 as the square root of 9 times the square root of 7. Now, using that list that I just showed you, maybe you can see that we have square root of 9. That's a perfect square. The square root of 9 is 3. So I'm going to remove that perfect square. What's the square root of 9? Well, the square root of 9 is 3. So this expression here becomes becomes 3 times the square root of 7. All right, which then becomes just 3 times the square root of 7, just removing that star, removing that multiplication sign. This is what we would want to see. Now, the question is, am I correct? Is the square root of 63 equal to 3 times the square root of 7? Well, one way you could check that, we could use our Desmos calculator. I could pop those 2 values in, and I see that the square root of 63 and the square root of 3 times the square root of 7, boy, they look awfully alike. And they actually are. They are actually equal. So square root of 63, if we want to simplify this, it would equal 3 times the square root of 7, and we are done.